What life pro tip have you learned from Reddit that you still use every time the situation presents itself? Story 1. When you're trying to resolve an issue or someone else made an error, put the focus on the error and not the person. An example of this that I use almost every day at work: someone sends me an email without the attachment. Instead of saying, "You didn't send the attachment," I say, "The attachment didn't come through. Please try sending it again." It doesn't seem like a huge deal, but people are more likely to become defensive or hostile when you blame them, even if it was their fault. It has saved me a lot of headaches at work. Google has a version of this that takes it a little further. Namely, that if something goes wrong, it's always a problem with a system, not a person. I think it's contributed a lot to their success. Dave pushes a change that breaks the build. Don't point your finger at Dave. Figure out why the system allows bad changes to get pushed in the first place. Add some more testing to the process so that no one can ever push a bad change again. Story 2. It's only been used once, but when you're caught in a riptide, swim parallel to the shore, not directly forwards in order to escape. About a week ago, my brother and I were out in the ocean, and a wave crashed over us. My hair was plastered to my face and I couldn't see. In the time that it took to get the hair out of my eyes, we realized we had been pushed out and couldn't touch the ground at all. We were getting further and further from shore. We were struggling for about 20 minutes against the current until he remembered that life pro tip, and we both swam sideways like crazy. My cousin had luckily alerted our uncle, and he was able to get us back in once we could touch the ground again. Thanks, Reddit. Wow. It's amazing how a simple tip can make so much difference in tough situations like that. Thanks to this dude for reminding us about it. It will definitely save lives, wherever you go. Story 3. A Redditor once remarked on how he realized how much he didn't know about a topic he was really passionate about. He then said something along the lines of reserving our judgment for things we know very little about, like stuff that's covered in the news, etc. You see, people are skeptical with what they've mastered, but believe things that they only have a layman's understanding of without any skepticism. The most common example is reading a newspaper and let's say you work in construction. There's a long article about a highway construction near you being delayed and listing reasons why it was delayed, blaming X, Y, and Z, etc. You roll your eyes reading this, as it's clear that the author knows nothing about the industry you work in, and you brush off the article as being dumb and bad. Then you turn the page and it's talking about some conflict in some healthcare clinics, and you take the whole article at face value and believe it as a fact, and frame opinions around this single, somewhat ambiguous source of information. Thing is, nobody knows everything. There are people who think they do, and those who pretend they do, and those who actually know quite a bit tend to not say anything because they know there are still things they don't yet know. I've taken that advice to heart and become less judgmental about things I don't know very much about. It's made me less angry, less depressed, and less skeptical about the world in general. Story 4. My father worked in human resources his whole career. His advice to me was, never put a person in a position where they have to defend themselves, even when you know they're wrong. It only makes them your adversary. Instead, ask what happened or how can I help make your job better. Now that I'm in a career where I have authority over dozens of employees, I'm so grateful for this wisdom. The other great pearl of wisdom he gave me was, be silent. Ask the question you need to ask, they'll tell you the answer they prepared. Stay silent, they'll accidentally tell you the truth. I don't know about you guys, but if I was the employee of that dude, I would probably feel creeped out. Come on, I didn't join the company to win a staring match competition. Plus, I would feel like I'm being judged. This psychology mumbo-jumbo of HR people is just out of this world. Story 5. The best advice I got about public speaking actually came from my college course on it. But the prof didn't use the book, obviously. Know your subject well enough to be able to have a conversation about it, then just speak on the subject with an idea on the points of interest you want to touch on. It helps so much with the stress, and you're better able to adapt to time constraints that might change. I've also found that actually having conversations about your subject matter helps as well and can give you an idea of what will actually interest others about it. Story 6. I had writer's block for the longest time. What got me out of it was one piece of advice that can work for nearly anything. Write one sentence and see where it goes. Don't overthink it or criticize the ideas, just jump in and do it. It really works. And some of my best writing came from using that technique. Letting the plot write itself and break away from my initial ideas of how I thought it was supposed to go. It can apply to anything. Just one step, one phone call, one new accomplishment outside of your comfort zone. Jump in and get going. Story 7. Get a dashcam. Fortunately, I haven't had to use it to defend myself, but the thought of not having it when I need it brings me absolute anxiety now. There have been a few instances where I've almost hit intoxicated pedestrians. And if I didn't have the dashcam running, I would have been in a tight spot if I did hit them and they lawyered up. Knowing that I have a dashcam running also improves my motorist habit significantly. Keep the music down, obey the speed laws, don't use the phone, no evasive lane changes, and no speeding up to try and beat a yellow light. With the dashcam, I drive like there's an insurance broker riding shotgun and a jury in the back seat.
What was the worst time you walked in?
Rufus Rugs, open up! Sorry for barging in like that, but I just had to share the sponsor of today's video. Me and the boys from Rufus Rugs. Now you might be saying to yourself,
excuse me, what the actual you doing in my house?
But I can assure you're gonna like this. We've been hard at work creating the best quality and premium hand-tufted rugs money can buy. Now imagine this. You, chilling on your bed, watching a Rufus Stories video, and staring at a rug that's not just a rug. Nope, it's a masterpiece. It's the kind of rug that makes your friends wish they were you. But they're not. And the best part is that these aren't your average cheap quality rugs. Nope, each one is handcrafted by me and the boys. No shortcuts, no robot assembly lines, and no dropshipping BS. Just pure rug grind. Whether you love anime, sports, cars, or anything else you can think of, we can turn it into a rug. So click the first link in the description and have your custom idea come to life.
Story 8. I saw a thread that involved building confidence, and someone had said something that helped me so much in high school. They said, if you're in a situation and you're uncomfortable, just imagine someone you look up to and do and say what you'd expect them to say. I had a guy in my swim team who ended up being a really good friend. He was muscular to the nth degree and was just so calm and cool all the time. Everyone loved the guy, and for good reason. So when I was uncomfortable or didn't know what to do, I just channeled him and tried to emulate what he would say and do. It really helped me a lot. I'm glad we ended up such good friends. Story 9. If you accidentally offend and or anger someone, when apologizing, follow this formula. State what you did, why it was wrong, and how you'll prevent it from happening in the future. Also, don't forget to acknowledge how what you did impacted the person you wronged. It's fine to add an explanation after an apology. However, do not preface it with "but" because then it just sounds like you're trying to make excuses. On the other end, if you're mad at someone, tell them what they did, why you were upset by it, and what you'd rather they do in the future. Heck, you can frame it as if they've already done it. I'm really busy these days, so when you're running late, I really appreciate it when you text me so I could fit in some things I need to do. The piles of stuff on the floor make me worried I'm going to break your stuff, and sometimes I get dirt or water on them if I have to step over them. So I appreciate it when you keep them out of the walkways. Yada yada. Story 10. If you're ever saying mean stuff about someone and they walk up and catch you, include them in the conversation like you fully intended to call them out on it. Might as well really give it to them at this point as well. They're already off balance because they fully expected you to backpedal and become defensive. This approach prevents them from saying that you were talking behind their back and lets them know you have a problem with them. Story 11. I love it when people do this. My mind is a strainer, so I forget things all the time. My friend took a picture of me when I borrowed some books. A few months later, I texted her if she could remember which books I borrowed, as I have a lot of books myself, and she sent me a photo with me holding the books. Now, since I'm so forgetful, I never remember to take a picture myself of stuff I lent to people, so I never get my own things back, but it's swell when others take my picture. It means I'm not in possession of other people's stuff. Story 12. If you have ancestors who moved from Italy to the US or wherever you live today, you might qualify for Italian citizenship. No joke. Like your great-grandpa came to the US in 1894, you might still very well qualify. It takes time gathering all the required documents and proofs, and it's clearly not free, but for about $1,500 total, I should be holding an Italian passport by year's end. You see, Italy views citizenship via bloodline. The reason so many people qualify is because of how Italy views things. For example, Giuseppe was born in 1875, and he, together with his wife, left Italy in 1895. In 1899, your great-grandfather was born in the US. The process to become a US citizen was often put off 5 or 10 plus years, and even then, took several years. So while that 1899 birth happened in the US because the parents were still Italian citizens, Italy views that kid as Italian. The US sees him as American. He goes on to get married, have kids, repeat, and you are born. You qualify, but you have to produce the proof. All birth, marriage, and death certificates dating back to Giuseppe and his wife. Ireland has this too. If I remember correctly, it's 3 generations and you're eligible. And it's not just for Ireland or Italy. It gives you access to the entire EU. This is also true for Germany. They have a rule that says if 1939 to 1945 didn't happen, would you be German? Then you can be, or something similar. I have a grandparent on each side who escaped the Holocaust and I'm in the process of getting German citizenship. Story 13. I just heard this one recently and it's been useful. If you're late replying to an important email, for example, something for work, don't start it by saying sorry or apologizing for the delay. That starts it off on a negative connotation and sets the mood for the reader. Instead, start it with, thank you for your patience. So instead of it starting by assigning blame to yourself, it instead starts off the email on a good note by praising the reader. Well, it seems to me that this lady was just trying to buy some extra hours and pulling a ninja move of timely responses. If you want to learn more game-changing email strategies, you better hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Story 14. Don't overthink before making decisions. Make the one your gut tells you to and see it through to the end. Of course, it doesn't apply to big life decisions, but for everyday work and personal decisions. It's been helping me a lot, saving me lots of unnecessary stress. Or you can also think of it this way. If you're trying to decide between 2 different things, flip a coin. When it's in the air, you'll most likely find yourself hoping for a certain side to be the one that's faced up, letting you know which of the 2 is what you really want. Story 15. If you're job hunting, copy and paste the job description from the ad or the website you're applying to and make the font white, so it is not seen by human eyes. The computer will pick up the keywords and phrases and move your resume to the list of people that will call for interviews. At the time that I saw this tip, I was job hunting and having problems getting anyone to call me for an interview. I started adding the job description to the bottom of the resume. Tiny fonts in white color so it was blind. Every company I submitted my resume to that I did that to, I got an interview with. I ended up getting a job for a company that is very picky about who they hire and only interview 1 out of every 100 applications. I love my new job. Going forward, if I ever have to apply anywhere again, I'll be doing the same trick. I don't know if this trick works everywhere. I was skeptical too when I read it on here, but figured I had nothing to lose. I was applying to major national companies who use computer software to sort the applications, except for the one job I applied where I met all the requirements of skills, education, experience, etc. Even the job I wasn't qualified for called me. It fell apart during the interview, lesson learned. So for me, this trick worked. Story 16. Never assume malice when ignorance is a valid explanation. It's fairly sound advice to live by. If someone did someone that made you angry, then giving them the benefit of the doubt makes you look like a saint. If the person did something out of spite, then saying you understand it's only a mistake will piss them off even more. The art of assuming ignorance. Definitely one of the most famous Jedi mind tricks out there. Want to get on the fast lane to sainthood? Just give people who push your buttons the benefit of the doubt. They'll probably end up scratching their heads in bewilderment. Story 17. Just this last weekend, I was playing basketball with my kids in the driveway and noticed 2 young guys jogging up and down the street and shouting something. I went to check it out and they were trying to catch their dog that had left through an open gate and was running all over the street. I don't know how long they had been trying, but they looked exhausted. I sat down on the curb and whistled and the dog came straight over and let me hug and catch him. Life pro tip: dogs think that being chased is a fun game. Sit down to stop the game. Story 18. Change your sheets at least once a week. I change mine every 4 to 5 days because I like clean sheets. When you go to sleep, pick a pillow and sleep with it. The next night, flip it over and sleep on the other side. Next night, use the second pillow, then flip it over the following night. Your face is on the clean side of a pillow more often, so you're not sleeping on where your oily face and hair was last night. This helps immensely with clearing up your skin if you get pimples. Also, drink more water and less soda. Thanks for the tip. It's the ultimate nightly spa treatment for the face. Definitely one of the best kept secrets to achieving that I woke up like this glow. Story 19. FORD, which I use for topics when trying to make small talk with strangers. Start with family, then occupation, recreation, and lastly, dreams. In that order. If you get to dreams, you've basically made a new friend. Here are some examples. Are you from this area? Did you grow up around here? What do you do for a living? What do you do when you're not working? Or stay with yourself as a lead-in. I went kite surfing for the first time last weekend. Have you ever done that? It's often a no, but leads to a related story or lets you ask, what do you do outside work? What would you be doing if you didn't have to work? If you won the lottery, what would you do instead of working? Story 20. Whenever using a public toilet, take a piece of toilet paper, wipe the seat, and flush it. Now you know there's toilet paper, the seat is dry, and how well it flushes. I developed this into a habit so I'm never trapped without toilet paper, getting wet from the seat, or overestimating the power of the flush. It avoids a lot of embarrassing situations. I really do this with every bathroom that isn't my own. It saved me from numerous embarrassing situations at my in-laws' house as well as friends' houses. Story 21. As contrived as this may sound, my advice is, don't pine. Breakups happen. Accidents happen. Life happens. There's a time to be sad, but don't dwell on it. That's pining. Be sad, learn from it, and get on with your life. Any time spent pining can be spent moving forward. Job interview didn't go well? Guzzle a glass of wine and trudge on. Don't spend a week crying over what could have been. Don't pine should be our mantra in facing life's curveballs. Cheers to leaving the what-ifs in the rearview mirrors and speeding forward. Full steam ahead. Story 22. That there are 2 types of people who are not talking in a conversation. A person who's waiting to talk and a person who's actually listening. Think about that division next time you talk with a friend or coworker. If they are constantly waiting to talk when you're telling a story, e.g. their own story, then there is a good chance that person is much more focused on themselves. I've noticed in the worst cases of this, they can be super nice, but there is a good chance that they want you there to enhance their own experience, not because they want to share an experience with you. If they don't try to shift the conversation to themselves but ask questions about what you're saying, they probably are actually interested in getting to know you. People like listeners. Story 23. I didn't get these from Reddit, but I haven't seen them in this thread, and they're all pretty useful. When putting open bags of food away, if you don't have any clips or Ziplocs, just roll it up and place it upside down or against the wall of a cabinet. Crush all plastic bottles, then replace the cap before putting them in the trash or recycling bin to save space. Put your alarm clock or phone across your room, as long as it's loud enough so you have to get up to turn it off. Keep your wallet in your hand until you put your cards back into it, so you don't forget it or stuff it in a pocket to get lost. Keep a bag for change in your car. Whenever you get change back, you have an easy place to put it and you can later use it for towels or car washes. And this may not work for some people, but if you have some daunting tasks to do and you feel overwhelmed, get a couple of quick easy tasks out of the way first so you can focus more easily on the more important and longer tasks. It helps especially if you're a procrastinator, because it allows you to procrastinate efficiently. These tips are gold, unless you're like me who can sleep through a hurricane, so that alarm tip, not gonna work. Story 24. If you are out of town and shopping at a store that has a rewards card program that is tied to your phone number, just use the local area code. Look it up on your phone, and then type 867-5309. I've used this trick everywhere from California to Hawaii to Wisconsin, and just about everywhere in between. It works at stores, grocery stores, etc. I've probably saved $100 or more using it while traveling, and I've never run into a situation where the number didn't work. Why does it work? Most grocery stores and stores have rewards programs that are free to sign up for. They give you discounts on all sorts of products in exchange for a way to track your purchases, and they're usually tied to your phone number. So if you're somewhere new and don't want to sign up for the program, chances are that someone else has already signed up with 867-5309 as their phone number since they didn't want to give their real one. Alternatively, if you need to sign up for something that requires a phone number, just use this number and someone else will benefit from it in the future. Story 25. I learned a dead giveaway for telling if someone likes another person. Men become more expressive with their eyebrows when they're talking to someone they're interested in or crushing on. Women will cover their mouth and laugh, not super exaggerated, but if you look for it, you'll notice, when a guy or girl walks into a room or approaches them. I know you may think, no way this is true, but I thought the same thing until I noticed it with some of the couples I hang out with occasionally. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, I'm sure you'll also enjoy men who had a girlfriend. What did you do to get rid of her? Story 3 is so lit. See you in that video.